one of my favorite shrubs in terms of attracting wildlife to the garden is butterfly bush. Just a beautiful perennial shrub for me here, right on the line between zones 7B and 8A. Hey, I'm Dr. Tom Warren, and you're watching The Plant Doctor. What I want to go over today is when to prune a butterfly bush, the proper time of year, and how to make the right cuts to ensure that next spring, when this begins to come back out, that we have a nice full bush like you see behind me here. Let's get to it. There's a couple things about butterfly bush that I want to point out to you before we start to prune. This is not a host plant for any of our native butterfly or bee species, but what this does serve as is an opportunity for those insects to feed. So what I would recommend doing is get you a good butterfly book, a butterfly identification book, and as you see different species of butterflies get on your butterfly bush, attempt to identify them and then figure out what companion or host plants they need in order to complete their life cycle, because they're not going to complete their life cycle just on butterfly bush alone. They can feed here, but they're not going to lay eggs and have larvae on a butterfly bush. Additionally, in some areas of the United States, in particular the southwestern United States, this is an invasive species, so do not be planting butterfly bush in states like Arizona and the desert Southwest. Here where I'm at in the Southeast, it is not invasive, so we can plant these and not have to worry too much about them escaping captivity. So let's go ahead and talk about what we need to do to prune this. I'm going to start with my hand pruners, and I'm going to go back on these branches and I'm going to find the last little bit of vegetation on my branches. And that's where I'm going to make these cuts. So we're just going to go through and start to make some cuts. I'm going to open this up where I can get in here a little bit. And we're going to start to remove some material. It's always important to prune butterfly bush because the wood is actually very weak. Here where I'm at, if we have a winter precipitation event, it's usually a very heavy wet snow or it's ice. And it'll weigh this plant down and it'll crack the wood of the plant, and that is not what we want. Last year, I made the mistake of trying to tree form this butterfly bush. Two things happened. We had a little snow, when I say little, like 2 inches, and I had a branch crack on me. Additionally, it got cold enough last winter that this died all the way back to the ground. And so I've learned that I just need to go ahead and prune this back to the ground because it's going to die back to the ground anyway. So by going ahead and pruning this, what we're doing is we're just preventing an ice storm or a snowstorm coming in and really breaking the wood apart. So now that we've kind of opened up the canopy a little bit, I can see some of the larger branches in here. I'm going to use my bypass pruners. And here again, when I say larger branches, I'm referring to branches probably larger than the diameter of your thumb. Anything smaller than that, you can use the hand pruners. But we're just going to go in and start taking out this material here. And this process really doesn't take all that long. Once you get in here, you can really start to remove some of those larger branches. I'll show you a close-up of what we have left. So notice here, I left about 2 nodes on this branch, about 2 nodes on this branch. There's 3 nodes on this branch. I'm leaving 2 to 3 nodes on every one of these because what's going to happen in the spring is these will branch out. So where we had one branch here this spring, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches come out here. We're going to have several here. You see some coming up from the base here. Just a much fuller plant than we otherwise would have had. Another thing that I want to point out to you, when you prune back a butterfly bush of this size, it's an opportunity to get in here and clean out the bed a little bit. So I haven't seen this ground in probably 8 or 9 months, and we've got a little eastern red cedar growing here. It's a good opportunity to pull anything up like that so that it doesn't become an issue in your landscape. We've got some black-eyed Susans here that I'm going to be pruning back before too much longer as well. Just here again, in late fall, early winter, so I'm doing this the first weekend in November. It's just a good opportunity to get out and clean some of this up. If you have a warm space inside the house, particular south-facing window, you could propagate these over the winter in your house. I've got a video, I'll link it here, how to propagate butterfly bush. It's very simple. These are easy to root. So all of this stuff that we just pruned out, we can get cuttings off of it. So if you're looking to expand your butterfly bush garden, or the number of individual butterfly bushes that you have in the landscape, this is a good cheap way to do it. Buy some rooting hormone and propagate these out.